Earth cautioned the galaxy about our limits. Now war unleashed without mercy. Earth had never been the loudest voice in the Galactic Assembly. Many worlds spoke with pride about their fleets, their ancient bloodlines, and their victories. Humans listened more than they spoke. They watched, they learned, and when they finally spoke, they chose their words carefully. Ambassador Daniel Brooks stood in the center of the circular chamber built in orbit above a neutral world. Tall pillars of soft light surrounded the platform. Dozens of alien representatives watched him through different kinds of eyes. Some had scales, some had feathers, some floated in hovering chairs. The chamber translated every word into every language at once. Behind Daniel stood Captain Lucas Grant and Commander Maya Carter. They wore dark Navy uniforms with the symbol of Earth on their shoulders. They did not move. They did not show emotion. But they listened to every breath in the room. The meeting had begun because the Dravex coalition was expanding. They were strong and organized. They believed the frontier regions were underused. Human colonies had settled in those regions years earlier under legal agreements signed by many species. Now the Dravex were pushing closer, claiming new rights and new security needs. A Dravex speaker rose from its seat. Its voice came through the translator as calm but sharp. Human settlements block our expansion routes. Relocation would prevent conflict. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some species nodded. Others stayed silent. Daniel waited before responding. He folded his hands calmly. Earth seeks peace, he said in a steady tone. We respect boundaries, we respect agreements. We do not expand without consent, but we have limits. If those limits are crossed, our response will not be small. The chamber grew quiet. A tall avian delegate tilted its head. Is this a threat? Daniel shook his head slowly. No, it is a warning. There is a difference. Lucas noticed several delegates whispering among themselves. Some looked amused. Humans had a reputation for surviving hard conditions, but compared to older empires, they were still young. The Dravex speaker answered again. Your colonies are lightly defended. Your fleets are modest. We calculate minimal resistance. Maya felt tension rise in her chest, but her face stayed calm. She knew what humanity kept hidden. Earth had never displayed its full military capacity, not because it lacked strength, but because it chose not to show it. Daniel spoke one final time. Earth has no desire for war. But we will defend our people. We ask the Dravex coalition to respect existing borders. The session ended without agreement. As the human delegation left the chamber, Lucas finally spoke in a low voice. They don't believe us, Daniel nodded. Most never do. Back on Earth, the Global Council gathered in a secure chamber beneath the Atlantic coast. President Adam Price listened to the report from Ambassador Brooks. Large screens showed the faces of leaders from different continents. The Dravex are testing us, said General Ryan Cole. They want to see how far they can move before we react. Scientist Olivia Bennett adjusted her glasses as she displayed data on the screen. Their fleet movements near Colony Helix have increased by 20% in the last week. President Price leaned forward. Evacuation plans? Ready, answered Admiral Alina Parker from the Fleet Command Center. But we recommend holding position for now. Sudden evacuation could signal fear. The room fell silent. Earth had spent decades preparing for a day it hoped would never come. Far away, on Colony Helix, life continued normally. Farmers worked red soil fields beneath twin suns. Children ran between metal housing units. Engineer Jake Miller repaired a water purifier while joking with his friend Lisa Ward. You think the rumors are true? Lisa asked quietly. Jake shrugged. Politics always sounds worse than it is. Above the colony, sensors detected Dravex ships entering the outer boundary. They did not fire, they only scanned. A message arrived from Dravex Command. It stated that security inspections would begin immediately. Governor Kevin Ross sent a reply, reminding them that the territory was recognized under galactic law. The answer that returned was simple. Laws change. Within hours, several Dravex vessels moved closer. Their size alone caused fear among colonists. The human defense platforms powered up, but they remained silent. On Earth, Lucas stood in fleet command watching live feeds. Maya joined him. They're pushing hard, she said. Still no weapons lock, Lucas replied. They want us to make the first move. Maya crossed her arms. And we won't. The first shot came unexpectedly. One of the outer communications satellites exploded in a flash of light. Debris scattered across orbit. On Colony Helix, alarms began to sound. Civilians rushed toward underground shelters. Admiral Elena Parker's voice echoed through Fleet Command. "Confirm hostile action." "Confirmed," replied a tactical officer. President Price authorized defensive engagement. Human defense platforms fired precise beams toward the nearest Dravex cruiser, disabling its weapons without destroying the ship. It was a controlled response. But the Dravex answer was heavier. Multiple cruisers fired at once, targeting the colony's shield grid. Energy waves crashed against the defense field. Cracks of light spread across the sky like lightning. Jake Miller helped guide families into shelters. Lisa worked at the medical station, calming frightened children. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. Above them, Lucas made a decision. Deploy Rapid Fleet Group. Ships hidden behind nearby moons accelerated toward Helix. Sleek human vessels moved in tight formation. They did not announce their arrival. The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt endless. Human ships focused on disabling enemy engines and command systems. They avoided civilian zones. They avoided unnecessary destruction. Finally, the Dravex fleet retreated, leaving damaged vessels behind. Cheers erupted inside shelters, but the celebration was short. Long-range sensors detected reinforcements. On Earth, President Price stood silently as new data appeared. "They're escalating," said General Cole. Daniel Brooks spoke softly from his secure channel. "They believe we won't go further." Maya watched the images of burning debris above Helix. "Then we show them." President Price hesitated for only a moment. "Activate Protocol Iron Horizon." Deep within classified systems, locked files opened for the first time in decades. Fleets that had remained hidden in distant sectors received coded signals. Reserve forces moved quietly. Supply chains shifted into wartime pattern. Protocol Iron Horizon was not about anger. It was about preparation. It assumed that if humanity was forced into full war, it must end the conflict quickly and decisively. On Colony Helix, Jake looked at the damaged sky. "Do you think Earth will protect us?" Lisa met his eyes. "They always have." Back at Fleet Command, Lucas turned to Maya. "Once we cross this line, there's no returning to simple warnings." Maya nodded slowly. "They crossed it first." Admiral Parker addressed all commanders. "Our objective is defense of citizens. However, if further aggression continues, strategic targets will be neutralized." The Dravex reinforcements arrived faster than expected. This time they did not wait. They fired immediately, aiming to overwhelm shields before human fleets could regroup. Human ships responded with new formations, ones never shown in previous conflicts. Drones launched in coordinated patterns, confusing Dravex targeting systems. Electronic countermeasures scrambled enemy communications. In the Galactic Assembly Chamber, news of the battle spread quickly. Delegates watched live transmissions. Many were shocked at how organized and calm human forces appeared under pressure. One alien diplomat whispered, "They warned us." Another answered, "We did not listen." The battle over Helix turned in humanity's favor again, but the cost was rising. One human cruiser took heavy damage protecting civilian evacuation transports. Captain Lucas ordered rescue operations even while combat continued. Maya led a boarding team to secure a disabled Dravex vessel. Inside, she discovered evidence of a larger plan. Data logs showed that Helix was only the beginning. The Dravex coalition had intended to test human resolve before advancing deeper into frontier space. She transmitted the information to Earth immediately. President Price closed his eyes briefly after reading it. "They planned this from the start." Daniel Brooks prepared a final broadcast. It would be sent across all major galactic channels. He stood before a simple camera. There was no anger in his face, only clarity. "Earth asked for peace," he began. "Earth warned that we have limits. Those limits have been crossed. We will defend our people. We will end this threat. We ask any neutral species to stay clear of Dravex military zones." His message spread across known space within minutes. On Helix, Jake and Lisa watched the broadcast from inside a shelter corridor. "Sounds serious," Jake said quietly. "It is," Lisa replied. Above them, human fleets formed a wide defensive barrier. More ships arrived from deep space, their arrival silent but powerful. Hidden reserves had been revealed at last. Lucas looked at the growing armada on his tactical display. He felt no pride, only responsibility. Maya stood beside him. "The galaxy is watching." "Good," Lucas said. "Let them understand." Far beyond Helix, Dravek's command reviewed the situation. Some leaders argued for withdrawal, others demanded full assault. They believed humans would still hesitate to push further. They were wrong. Earth had spent centuries learning the cost of war. That was why it avoided it. But once forced, it would not fight halfway. As the twin suns of Helix set behind drifting wreckage, humanity's fleets held position. Engines glowed softly in the darkness of space. Silent, steady, waiting. The warning had been given. Now the galaxy would learn what it meant. The twin suns of Helix had barely risen when the next wave came. Human fleets were already in position. Ships floated in layered formations above the colony, engines glowing low to conserve power. Lucas Grant stood at the center of the command deck, eyes fixed on the wide tactical screen. Small blue lights marked human ships. Red signals showed Dravek's vessels gathering at the edge of sensor range. They were not hiding anymore. Maya Carter stepped beside him. "Long-range scans confirm heavy carriers this time," she said. "They are not testing us now, they want control." Lucas gave a slow nod. "Open channel to Admiral Parker." Within seconds, Elena Parker's face appeared on the secure display from Fleet Command near Earth. Her expression was calm, but her eyes showed focus. "Report," she said. "Dravek's carriers entering Helix sector," Lucas answered. "Numbers higher than previous engagement." Elena studied incoming data. "This is their push, hold defensive grid. Reserve Group Delta will arrive in 8 minutes. 8 minutes felt like a long time in space combat. Below, colonists remained inside reinforced shelters. Jake Miller helped secure doors while Lisa Ward checked medical supplies. Children sat quietly, listening to the low hum of emergency generators. "They said more ships are coming," Jake told her softly. Lisa forced a small smile. "Then we trust our fleet." Above them, Dravek's carriers launched swarms of strike craft. Hundreds of small attack ships spread out like a dark cloud. Their movement was fast and direct. Lucas did not raise his voice. "Activate pattern echo." Human ships shifted instantly. Instead of meeting the swarm head-on, they divided into smaller clusters. Drone pods opened from the sides of cruisers, releasing silver spheres that spread outward. Maya watched the screen. "They expect a wall. We give them a maze." The first clash began in silence. Beams of energy flashed between the two forces. Explosions flickered across space like distant stars going out. Human drones moved in unpredictable arcs, forcing Dravek's fighters to break formation. Inside one human frigate, pilot Noah White gripped his controls tightly. "Target locked," he said to his co-pilot, Claire Davis. "Disable engines only," Claire reminded him. Noah fired a precise burst. A Dravek's fighter spun out of control but did not explode. He exhaled slowly. This was not about revenge, it was about control. The Dravek's carriers advanced, launching heavier fire toward the colony's shield grid. Bright flashes rippled across the protective field. Cracks began to form again. "Shield capacity dropping," reported a tactical officer. Lucas felt tension in his chest but kept his voice steady. "Redirect power from outer ring, maintain civilian coverage." Maya glanced at the timer on her console. 5 minutes until Delta arrives. Another human cruiser took a heavy hit while blocking incoming fire aimed at evacuation transports. Sparks filled its command bridge, but it stayed in position. On Earth, President Adam Price watched the battle unfold in real time. General Ryan Cole stood beside him. "They're committed," Ryan said quietly. "So are we," the president answered. Back in the Helix sector, the situation grew more intense. Dravek's carriers moved closer, trying to break through the human defensive grid. Lucas knew that if they reached optimal range, the colony's shield would not survive long. "Prepare counter-thrust," he ordered. Maya looked at him. "That will expose our flank." Only for a moment. Human cruisers at the center of formation suddenly accelerated forward. They did not fire wildly. Instead, they targeted one Dravek's carrier's propulsion systems with focused beams. The carrier slowed, drifting slightly off formation. Confusion spread among Dravek's ships as their central coordination faltered. 3 minutes, Maya said. The Draveks responded with heavier bombardment. Shockwaves shook several human vessels. Emergency lights flashed across decks. Noah White's fighter rocked violently. "Steady," Claire said, gripping her console. Then new signals appeared on Lucas's screen. Blue lights multiplied at the edge of the sector. Reserve Group Delta arrived. Sleek human warships emerged from behind a distant asteroid belt, engines blazing bright as they entered combat speed. Their arrival was precise, timed to the second. Elena Parker's voice came through the channel. Delta in position, execute Iron Horizon Phase 1. Lucas allowed himself a small breath of relief. All units, advance. The battlefield shifted quickly. Delta ships formed a wide arc behind Dravex carriers, cutting off retreat routes. At the same time, drones intensified electronic interference, scrambling enemy communications. Maya monitored intercepted signals. They are losing command clarity. Lucas nodded. Target carrier command nodes. Human ships fired coordinated strikes, not to destroy entire vessels, but to disable leadership systems. One by one, Dravex carriers lost synchronization. Strike craft began retreating without clear direction. On the Dravex flagship far from the battle, arguments erupted among commanders. Some demanded immediate withdrawal. Others insisted on pressing forward to save honor. The extremist faction within Dravex command pushed for escalation. They believed humanity would eventually tire or hesitate. They did not understand Iron Horizon. On Helix, colonists felt the shaking above them lessen slightly. Jake checked his handheld device for updates. Lisa listened carefully to the distant rumble that echoed through the shelter walls. "It sounds different now," she said. "Like we're pushing back," Jake replied. Above, human forces tightened their control. Lucas directed a narrow corridor for civilian evacuation ships to depart safely. Transport vessels slipped through the defensive grid, heading toward deeper human space. Maya received new intelligence from a captured Dravex vessel she had boarded earlier. "Lucas, I'm sending you files now. This wasn't just about Helix. They plan to strike 2 more colonies within days." Lucas studied the data quickly. "They intended to force us into retreat. Or into surrender," Maya added. Lucas opened a secure channel to Elena Parker. "Admiral, we have confirmation of broader invasion plan." Elena's face remained steady. "Then Phase 2 begins." Far from Helix, hidden shipyards activated. Fleets that had remained dormant powered up. Supply convoys shifted into war configuration. Earth was moving fully into conflict. Back in the assembly chamber, alien delegates watched the unfolding battle with growing concern. The speed of human adaptation unsettled them. They had expected anger. They saw discipline. One elder diplomat murmured, "They fight like they studied every possible outcome." Another answered softly, "Perhaps they did." In the Helix sector, the last major Dravex carrier attempted a final charge toward the colony. Lucas recognized the move immediately. "They're trying to break through for symbolism," he said. Maya nodded. "If they reach the shield, they claim moral victory." Lucas gave a simple order. "All units, converge." Human ships moved as if connected by one mind. They formed a tightening circle around the advancing carrier. Focused beams struck its engines, its weapons arrays, its navigation systems. Within seconds, the massive vessel slowed to a powerless drift. No explosion followed, no dramatic destruction, just silence. One by one, remaining Dravex ships began retreating. Reserve Group Delta maintained formation but did not chase beyond designated boundary lines. "Enemy withdrawal confirmed," announced the tactical officer. A quiet sense of relief spread across human command decks. But Lucas did not smile. "This is not over," he said. Maya agreed. "They will regroup." Admiral Parker opened a fleet-wide channel. "All units hold position. Medical teams deploy to damaged ships. Recovery operations begin immediately." Human rescue vessels moved carefully among debris fields, collecting survivors from both sides. Disabled Dravex fighters were stabilized instead of destroyed. Prisoners were treated according to Galactic law. On Helix, emergency signals shifted from red to amber. Jake let out a long breath. Lisa leaned against the shelter wall, closing her eyes for a moment. "They held," Jake whispered. "Yes," she said. In deep Dravex space, the extremist faction gathered privately. Their leader, unseen by most of their own command structure, argued that humanity's restraint proved weakness. He pushed for a direct strike toward Earth itself. Moderate leaders hesitated. They had seen human fleets move with frightening coordination. They had seen reserve forces appear from nowhere, but pride and fear often make poor decisions. On Earth, President Price received updated intelligence from Ethan Clark, who had been analyzing Dravex communications. "There is internal division," Ethan reported. Some want withdrawal, others want escalation. Which side is stronger? The president asked. Hard to say, Ethan replied, but the extremists are pushing for a symbolic strike. General Ryan Cole looked at the president. If they attack Earth directly, we move to full horizon. The president gave a slow nod. Prepare for that possibility. Back in the Helix sector, Lucas stood by the observation window of his flagship. Debris drifted silently against the black backdrop of space. Human ships glowed softly in controlled formation. Maya joined him. Casualty reports? She asked. Manageable, he answered. Colony shield still at 40% but stable. She looked at the distant stars. The galaxy will think twice now. Some will, Lucas said. Others will think we showed our hand. Maya crossed her arms. Did we? Lucas glanced at her. Not even close. Far across known space, Daniel Brooks prepared another diplomatic message. He spoke carefully, without anger. Earth has defended its citizens, he said. We do not seek expansion, we do not seek conquest, but continued aggression will be met with decisive action. His voice carried through every major network. The message was simple. The meaning was clear. Earth had warned the galaxy about its limits. Those limits had been crossed once. If crossed again, the response would be greater. As Helix's twin suns dipped toward the horizon, human fleets expanded their defensive perimeter. New ships continued arriving quietly from distant sectors. Iron Horizon was no longer a hidden doctrine. It was unfolding step by step. And somewhere beyond the reach of current sensors, forces were gathering for something even larger. The next move would decide whether this war stayed at the frontier or reached the heart of Earth itself. The Helix sector remained quiet for several hours after the battle, but nobody believed the silence would last. Human ships held their positions, forming a wide protective ring around the colony. Repair drones moved between vessels, sealing damage and restoring systems. Rescue teams searched through drifting wreckage, pulling survivors from damaged hulls. Lucas Grant stood at the command console, reviewing updated tactical data. Every screen showed movement somewhere in the galaxy. Supply routes were shifting, new fleets were mobilizing, Iron Horizon was expanding beyond Helix. Maya Carter approached him with a data tablet. New intelligence from Ethan Clark, she said. Dravek's internal communications are fractured. Some leaders want negotiation now, Lucas read quickly. And the others? Extremist faction pushing for escalation. They believe attacking Earth directly will force us to retreat. Lucas shook his head slowly. They still misunderstand us. Far away inside Dravek's territory, arguments continued among their leadership. Several commanders had seen how humans fought. They had seen the precise strikes, the disciplined restraint, and the sudden arrival of reserve fleets. Fear grew quietly among them, though few admitted it openly. A moderate Dravek's officer named Carroll addressed the council. Humans fight differently. They aim to end conflicts quickly. Continuing this war risks total loss. Another leader slammed a clawed hand against the table. Retreat would destroy our honor. The extremist faction leader remained silent, watching carefully. He believed that fear could be turned into anger, and anger could push the council toward further war. Back at Helix, Admiral Alina Parker arrived in person aboard her flagship. Her presence brought calm to the fleet. She walked through the command bridge with quiet confidence, greeting officers as she passed. Status, she asked Lucas. Enemy retreat confirmed, he replied. But long-range sensors show heavy movement deeper in Dravek's space. Maya added, they are gathering forces. Pattern suggests preparation for larger strike. Alina nodded. Then Phase 3 must begin. Lucas understood immediately. Iron Horizon Phase 3 meant expanding beyond defensive posture into strategic control. Human fleets would move to prevent future attacks before they began. Meanwhile, Ambassador Daniel Brooks worked tirelessly from a diplomatic station orbiting a neutral world. He spoke with representatives from dozens of species, explaining humanity's position again and again. Earth does not seek conquest, he repeated. We only seek safety for our people. Some delegates listened with respect now, others remained cautious. But the tone of the galaxy had changed. Humanity was no longer seen as passive. On Colony Helix, Jake Miller stepped outside for the first time since the battle. Repair crews worked across damaged buildings. Pieces of burned metal lay scattered across the landscape, reminders of how close destruction had come. Lisa Ward joined him, carrying medical supplies. Hard to believe it's quiet again, she said. Jake looked up at the sky where distant ships glowed faintly. They're still up there, watching. Protecting, Lisa corrected gently. Above them, human fleets began moving outward, expanding their defensive perimeter. Scout ships jumped into hyperspace, gathering intelligence across nearby sectors. Ethan Clark's analysis revealed something troubling. Intercepted Dravex signals showed references to a hidden strike group. Its destination was unknown, but its movement path suggested a route toward human core space. He contacted President Adam Price immediately. "We believe they are planning a symbolic attack," Ethan explained, "possibly aimed at Earth itself or a major human world." The president remained calm. "Can we intercept?" "Yes," Ethan answered. "If we move now." Orders spread quickly. Fleets positioned across multiple sectors adjusted their courses. Iron Horizon shifted from defense to anticipation. Lucas received new coordinates from Fleet Command. "We are moving," he told Maya. "Destination? Unknown Dravex strike group." Maya nodded. "Then we stop this before it reaches us." Human ships jumped into hyperspace, leaving Helix under the protection of local defense units. The journey lasted only minutes but felt longer as tension filled every command deck. They arrived near a dense asteroid field, sensors immediately detecting cloaked vessels. Dravex strike ships hid among the rocks, preparing for ambush. "They plan to avoid detection," Maya said. Lucas studied the formations. "They expected us to chase blindly. We won't." Instead of attacking directly, human ships released sensor drones that spread through the asteroid field, mapping every object carefully. Cloaked Dravex vessels were revealed one by one. Elena Parker's voice came through the fleet channel. "Remember our objective: disable, not destroy." Battle began with sudden bursts of light. Human ships moved slowly but deliberately, forcing Dravex vessels out of hiding. Several enemy ships attempted to escape, but flanking units blocked their routes. One Dravex commander transmitted a message filled with anger. "Humans should have remained quiet members of the assembly." Lucas responded calmly. "We tried." The fight ended quickly once Dravex leadership realized they had been surrounded. Several ships surrendered. Others attempted desperate attacks but were disabled within moments. Maya boarded one of the captured vessels again. Inside, she found data confirming the extremist faction's plan. They intended to launch a surprise strike toward Earth's orbit, believing a sudden attack would break human morale. She transmitted the files to Fleet Command. On Earth, the Global Council reviewed the information in silence. President Price finally spoke. "They plan to attack our home." General Ryan Cole nodded. "This confirms it. We cannot wait for them to regroup again." Daniel Brooks listened through the secure channel. "If we strike too hard, the galaxy may fear us." The president looked at him. "They already do. Now they must also respect us." Meanwhile, in the Galactic Assembly, debates grew intense. Some species demanded sanctions against the Dravex coalition. Others argued that humanity's growing military presence threatened balance. One elderly diplomat spoke quietly. Balance was broken when warnings were ignored. Back with Lucas's fleet, captured Dravex officers revealed growing division among their own people. Some commanders had begun refusing orders from the extremist faction. They feared humanity's response if the war continued. Maya watched interrogation reports carefully. "They are losing unity," she said. Lucas nodded. "Wars end when unity breaks." Elena Parker issued new orders. Human fleets would isolate extremist-controlled regions while opening channels with moderate Dravex leaders. The goal was clear: end the war quickly without total destruction. Ambassador Brooks volunteered to travel to a forward diplomatic outpost near Dravex space. Many considered it risky, but he believed direct dialogue could prevent unnecessary loss. He met with Nora Hill, a neutral diplomat known for balancing opposing sides. "They need a path to step back without humiliation," Nora said. Daniel agreed. "And we need the war to end before it spreads further." While diplomacy began quietly, human fleets continued strategic movements. Supply lines were cut. Extremist bases were surrounded but not attacked immediately. Psychological pressure built slowly. Inside Dravex territory, Carol and other moderate leaders gathered secretly. They had seen enough destruction. They opened a hidden communication channel to Ambassador Brooks, requesting discussion. The message reached Lucas's fleet shortly after. Maya looked at the screen. "This could change everything," Lucas nodded. Or it could be a trap. Elena Parker's voice returned. We proceed carefully, maintain readiness. As negotiations prepared to begin, the extremist faction launched one final desperate move. A heavily armed fleet accelerated toward human space, ignoring orders from moderate commanders. Sensors detected their approach instantly. They're heading toward the inner systems, reported a tactical officer. Lucas felt the weight of the moment. Then this is it. Maya stood beside him. The decisive phase. Human fleets aligned across multiple sectors, forming a wide defensive net. Every movement was coordinated, every ship positioned to intercept. Far away on Earth, people watched the stars, unaware of how close danger had come. President Price spoke quietly to his advisors. We warned the galaxy about our limits, General Cole replied, and now they will see them. Back in space, Lucas looked at the incoming enemy signals growing larger on his display. The war was reaching its turning point. The galaxy held its breath, and humanity prepared to end what it had never wanted to begin. The stars looked calm, but every human commander knew the next hours would decide the future of the war. Across several sectors, fleets moved into position with quiet precision. Ships did not rush or scatter. They aligned carefully, creating layers of defense and control that stretched across space like an invisible wall. Lucas Grant stood at the main command station of his flagship. The tactical screen showed hundreds of signals moving toward human space. The extremist Dravex fleet had committed fully. They were fast, heavily armed, and driven by desperation. Maya Carter watched incoming data beside him. They're pushing at maximum speed. They want to reach inner systems before we can surround them. Lucas nodded. They believe speed will give them advantage. Admiral Elena Parker's voice came through the fleet channel. All units prepare for Phase 4 of Iron Horizon. Our goal remains clear. Isolate leadership. Prevent civilian damage. End the conflict. Human ships adjusted formation. Instead of building a single line of defense, they formed several curved arcs across different sectors. To an outside observer, the pattern looked loose, but each position connected to others through precise timing. Far away, Ambassador Daniel Brooks continued talks with moderate Dravex leaders. Nora Hill assisted him, translating cultural meanings and helping both sides avoid misunderstandings. The moderate leaders wanted to stop the extremists, but feared internal collapse if they appeared weak. If humanity destroys their fleet completely, Nora said quietly, moderate voices may lose control. Daniel folded his hands thoughtfully. Then we end the threat without destroying their future. Back in space, the extremist Dravex fleet entered human defensive range. Massive ships pushed forward, firing long-range weapons toward distant targets. Beams of light crossed the dark sky. Human fleets did not rush to respond. Instead, they activated layers of electronic countermeasures. Enemy targeting systems flickered and lost clarity. Drones spread outward like silent guardians. Lucas gave a calm order. Begin containment. Human ships moved forward slowly, forcing Dravex vessels into narrow corridors between asteroid belts and gravitational fields. Escape routes narrowed without obvious traps. Maya watched the map change. They're being guided without realizing it. Exactly, Lucas said. The Dravex commanders realized too late that they were no longer moving freely. Every turn brought them closer to human control zones. Confusion spread among their ranks. Some Dravex captains tried to break formation and retreat, but flanking human units blocked their path. Instead of destroying ships immediately, humans targeted engines and communication arrays. One by one, Dravex vessels lost coordination. Inside the extremist flagship, its leader shouted orders that reached only half of the fleet. Interference filled communication channels. Frustration grew. Back on Earth, President Adam Price watched the battle unfold with quiet focus. General Ryan Cole stood nearby. They're isolating them perfectly, Ryan said. Because we prepared for this long ago, the president replied. In the Helix colony, Jake Miller followed news updates through a public broadcast. Colonists gathered around screens, watching animated maps of fleet movements. They're pushing them away from us, someone said. Lisa Ward listened closely, feeling a mix of relief and worry. It's not just about us anymore, she said softly. It's about the whole galaxy. In deep space, the battle intensified. A Dravex carrier attempted to break through the human formation with a direct charge. Lucas responded immediately. Unit Beta, shift left. Allow entry. Maya looked at him quickly. You're letting them through? Only for a moment. As the carrier advanced, hidden human ships closed behind it, cutting off retreat. Focused energy beams disabled its propulsion systems within seconds. The massive vessel drifted helplessly, surrounded but intact. Capture teams ready, Maya reported. Lucas nodded. Send them. Boarding teams moved quickly, securing command decks and preventing self-destruct attempts. Prisoners were treated according to protocol, reinforcing humanity's reputation for discipline. Across the battlefield, similar events unfolded. Extremist ships lost power one by one, trapped inside a carefully constructed net. Admiral Parker spoke again through fleet channels. Enemy leadership signal detected. Lucas, you are closest. Lucas adjusted course, guiding his flagship toward the central Dravex command vessel. The ship was larger than any other in the fleet, its armor scarred from previous battles. Open communication, Lucas ordered. A distorted image appeared on screen, showing the extremist leader. His expression showed anger mixed with disbelief. Humans hide behind tricks, he said. Lucas remained calm. We warned you about our limits, you chose not to listen. War proves strength, the leader replied. Lucas shook his head slightly. War proves consequences. While they spoke, human ships continued surrounding the flagship. Energy locks formed around its weapon systems, preventing further attacks. Maya watched carefully. They're trying to charge main cannons. Increase interference, Lucas said. Electronic pulses disrupted the charging sequence. The flagship's weapons went silent. Meanwhile, Ambassador Brooks received news of the battle's progress. Moderate Dravex leaders listened as he explained humanity's strategy. We do not seek your destruction, Daniel said gently. But we will not allow continued attacks. Help us end this now. After long discussion, the moderate leaders agreed to broadcast a ceasefire order to all Dravex forces still willing to listen. Back at the battlefield, new signals appeared. Several Dravex ships powered down weapons voluntarily. Confusion spread among extremist units as loyalty shifted. Maya smiled slightly. They're losing support, Lucas nodded. Then we finish this, he gave the final order. Containment ring complete. Human fleets closed the last gaps. The extremist flagship found itself completely surrounded, unable to move without risking destruction. After a long pause, the Dravex leader spoke again, his voice quieter. You could destroy us now? Lucas answered simply. Yes, but we won't. Silence followed. Slowly, the flagship powered down its weapons. Cheers echoed quietly across human ships, though discipline kept celebrations controlled. The war was not won through rage or revenge, but through precision. Hours later, prisoners were secured and damaged vessels stabilized. Humanitarian teams treated injured from both sides. News of the outcome spread quickly across the galaxy. In the Galactic Assembly, delegates watched recordings of the final confrontation. Many were surprised by humanity's restraint. One delegate said softly, they had the power to end worlds, instead they ended the war. Ambassador Brooks addressed the assembly again. Earth warned that we have limits, he said calmly. Those limits exist because we understand what happens when power is used without control. We will return to peace now, but we will always defend our people. Back on Earth, celebrations were quiet but meaningful. People gathered in cities and villages, grateful that the conflict had ended without reaching their home. President Price spoke to the world. Strength is not shown by endless fighting. It is shown by knowing when to stop. Lucas and Maya stood together on the observation deck of their ship, watching captured Dravex vessels being escorted away peacefully. Do you think they understand now? Maya asked. Lucas looked at the distant stars. Some do, others will learn. Human fleets slowly returned to normal positions. Iron Horizon ended, its purpose fulfilled. The galaxy would remember this war not as one of destruction, but as a lesson. Earth had cautioned the galaxy about its limits. When those limits were crossed, humanity fought with unstoppable focus. And when victory came, humanity chose restraint, leaving behind not fear alone, but respect.